Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. This is my weekly podcast where I speak to founders building cool emerging brands. Today, I have two really special guests. It's the first mother-daughter co-founder duo that I've had on the podcast. So Bianca and Martina Kenworthy, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
having
having us.
You're so welcome. So you both are the co-founders of Rossi Pizza, which already sounds delicious. And as I shared before, I'm Italian from Long Island, New York. I love pizza. And I grew up pizza was one of our main staple food groups in my family. And so when I heard about your brand and got to know a little bit more about your business and backstory, I was so stoked when you both said yes to coming on the podcast. So to kick things off, I always love to hear the brand story. So Martina, would you kick things off of sharing a little bit behind the scenes?
I would love that. Thank you. So La Rossi Pizza, we are a frozen pizza production. We are farm-sourced, clean ingredients, sustainable in the way we source it. And as you introduced us, there's definitely an element that is strongly Italian. So our background, I was born in Bologna, Italy, grew up there, but moved to the United States very early on, and I was always involved with food. So in my background, there was co-founding a company, gustiamo.com, which was importing high quality artisanal products from small artisans in Italy, and supported that kind of culture for a long time. I also chaired an international organization called Slow Food New York City, the New York City chapter. And through doing that, I really became very interested and close to how can we rely more on a local economy. And then you would wonder why pizza? Of course, food and the food tradition is very central to Italians, but we also saw an opportunity to make an impact in a big market. You know, if you look at the number of consumers frozen pizza in the US, they're really kind of staggering. And we said, okay, how can we do something that is better for you, better for the earth, and bring our Italian expertise to the table? So when we started, Bianca and I actually selected the regional American grain, which is part of our mission. And I think we did something pretty unusual. We brought the grain to Italy and put them in the hands of artisanal bakers who really had not lost the connection with working with non-commodity flour, and developed the recipe. It took us a long, long time. You know, it was never perfect enough. And then when we felt the taste, the flavor, the integrity of the product was to us perfect, we just launched in 2021. We were in a kitchen in the West Village in New York. We were really a small team. We know what was going on in 2021. So there was also a little bit of testing different channels. The world was really changing when it came to food, hospitality, and food production, and also the way the consumers were buying food. And that is, in a nutshell, the story. I'm sure Bianca has a lot of more elements and, you know, her point of view on how this came along. But
I think the only thing to add is that, you know, my kind of introduction to pizza through our family came in the form of hosting friends for pizza parties. I think starting in 2010, we created a recipe based off of Melissa Clark's, and later it became our own, you know, that we created. But there was really just a coming together over pizza, and that kind of mirrored with my mom's background in food, you know, provided a catalyst for ultimately what La Rossi is today. And we also saw a big opportunity because, you know, why not a pizzeria, which also does, you know, so well. People love pizza. But, you know, we really love the convenience element of it and making a better frozen pizza, you know, for more people.
I love that. And also the fact that there's an origin part of your story of a pizza party turned into a pizza brand. That alone is a really great story. And I love how you took the wheat and sent it over to have it perfected, which is really cool. And then coming back to the States and perfecting it again, it also speaks to how much thoughtfulness that you've put into this. It sounds like it's not just a kind of like the cardboard pizza that you would usually find in the frozen pizza section. I've had some pretty awful frozen pizzas. So I love how that also differentiates your brand, which Bianca, if you could talk more to that, because again, when we chatted prior to the podcast, I was like, ooh, this is really cool. So can you give us a little bit more of like what you wanted to do different in this category?
Of course. And so I think it segues really well from what my mom said, shipping or bringing that American flour to Italy is really, the beginning of why La Rossi is different and why it's a better frozen pizza, in that it's really about the ingredients and the recipe first. Which has translated, we're very well known for our crust. It's super crispy. It's really delicious. It has this amazing crunch to it. And people really, pick up on that. So I would say the sourcing, the ingredients, the thoughtfulness behind working with partners who value sustainability and a local economy is really part and parcel of our mission and what we want La Rossi to be. I think, we're two ladies here on the call, and as founders, I think pizza is typically a very male dominated industry, and it's very fun and challenging to be women in that industry, and we're mother-daughter, so that comes with challenges in and of itself. And
I'm sure that could be a whole other podcast episode of talking about being co-founders with your daughter, co-founder with your mom. I love my mom and I love my sister, but to do it every day, I'm sure is a really cool, unique experience.
It's super unique. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and it creates a different dynamic, which is awesome. And I think, in addition, we're real Italians. I was born here, but my mom was born in Bologna, so we really have that expertise, and we feel really confident in our, in saying this is a great frozen pizza. It's made by Italians. Our third co-founder, Stefano, is from Genova. So I'm really the only one who, was born stateside, but I have such a deep connection with Italy, and it's something that is really important to me to foster as well.
I have a question for you, Bianca, as far as with your background, also working in PR, media, what did you find as a really interesting aspect of the brand that consumers were connecting with? Because you have quite a few different storylines and differentiators, but what are some things that really have been standing out to consumers?
So, I think the crust is something that really stood out. And, in anything, especially in marketing and comms and media and influencer strategy in the last 5 years, it's more so it's product trying and seeding and putting it in the hands of people and really listening to their feedback, whether it's media or customers or whoever that might be. And I think we're really fortunate. We got some amazing launch press, and it was really by seeding the product and putting it into people's hands and letting them discover it in a way, and being strategic about who we're talking to and who we're working with. But yeah, really grateful that, it's
and also collecting that data and having that social proof. That's something that I'm really stressing to founders, especially in the early, like from day one, like collect that social proof, collect that data, because it also sounds like through testing and experimenting and refining, getting your product into different people's hands and getting that feedback, it sounds like that's been a big part of your brand strategy overall.
Yes.
And can you tell me more about that, Martina?
If I can add to what Bianca was saying, you made a great point. And it is one of the things that we always try to readdress is who is actually buying our pizza. And data was more maybe, it's hard to collect data in the beginning, right? You're starting to go into stores. You don't necessarily have a direct relationship with the customer. In fact, it's pretty much removed from you. You're not in a store. You don't have that daily conversation and feedback. At the very beginning, and it was really the story of startup, we got some good press, as Bianca was saying, and we received a lot of order online, and we were doing everything. We were delivering, we were calling up, we were preparing the packages and everything, and we were not shipping yet. It was limited to the New York area. And there was something that I loved was to be the person delivering. And I had conversation on the door. And I always try to understand, why are they buying? Especially, why are they buying again? Because there's definitely one effect, that is, you get a great piece of press, and then, there's an effect of people not knowing you, but because they follow the publication or the editor, the journalist, they will trust their judgment. But when we saw a really high rate of reorder, it was when I picked up the phone and I said, thank you, why did you reorder? And
Yes.
we were lucky also, I think, to have nailed the quality of the product that we were saying. We worked for so long to refine the recipe and really make it something that you would never suspect has been frozen. And that was our goal, not because we don't believe in frozen. We always really thought that there's nothing wrong with frozen. You maintain, nutrition, ingredients, integrity, but people want that kind of at-home restaurant experience. And we had a lot of customers getting back to us and saying, if we had not reheated it ourselves, we would never have thought that this pizza is frozen. So I think that's that's something that really made us start thinking in terms of unique. Who is your market? Sure, our market who wants to invest their money in some sustainability, be it like eco-friendly or supporting local economy. But definitely we saw a lot of really, someone who wanted to recreate that restaurant experience, and you have it in your freezer and you don't have to stand in line. You don't get anything delivered that is lukewarm and you have to reheat. It's like you decide when to have it, and you really have a great taste experience.
I love it. And you touched upon two really important factors. One, you could have all the eco-sustainable, local, all those box checked. However, if your product isn't that good, you get one try. Maybe a little bit of people were like, let me try again because I really like their, ethos. But after that, it's game over, because consumers now have so many more options that are sustainable, eco-conscious. So I think it's also a really important factor that you just said, is that the product also, even if you didn't know any of those benefits or features, it's still a damn good pizza that someone can make at home. And so I love going back to the product. And also, I want to give you a shout out for actually calling people and having real life conversations, because I find that more founders, especially younger founders, and I'm an older millennial, but even my generation, to like call someone or to reach out, it still feels very awkward, even though that's so basic and like low hanging fruit of how to collect data. So I like how you have incorporated this, forward thinking and strategy, media, social, all that good stuff, but also like old school, like talking to people, delivering the product and getting feedback. And I think when you merge both those two together, that's so impactful for a brand strategy.
Absolutely. It is. Yes.
I love that.
I think something else that,
tell me.
I was going to say something else that we are focused on, and of course, you have, with my background in marketing and hospitality PR. I'm also the co-founder of a hospitality consultancy called Palm, and we have some amazing clients like Talea Beer and Dun Angie and YN. So
love Talea.
really some great folks. But what I call an omnichannel strategy that really looks at traditional media relations, social media, and events and partnerships is is really, is necessary in any brand strategy in 2023, 2024. But two things that we're really focusing on, especially as we lead into the new year, is building mini, or maybe not so many, campaigns around retailers and retail launches, as well as, kind of what you were saying before too about, things don't have to be so perfect. And I think imperfection really resonates with people. So on the brand retailer side, we have really exciting news. We are launching into all Northeast regional Whole Foods in August of 2024. So perfect,
Wow.
going into fall, so that's really exciting. But
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. And it's incredible from a distribution perspective, but it's equally incredible from a branding perspective. So we will be doing a lot of work around that campaign, and pointing out where we're going to be, kind of reaching out to media like very close to local Whole Foods, and sharing, hey, we're going to be in Whole Foods, we're going to be on Prime. As well as doing a lot of demos, because that is what will bring us back to the customer. And like you said, is so important. And then just quickly on the social side, going back to the imperfection, like just take the photo, just take the reel. If you don't really know how to make a reel, that's okay. Most people don't. And also having some sort of founder connection and presence, and really just being who you are, because that's ultimately what resonates with other people, versus thinking that you need like perfect imagery and, just post. That's our motto.
Thank you for saying that. I'm going to be sending this episode to clients and be like, listen to them. Sometimes you don't listen to me, but listen to them. Because it's so important to share the founder behind it, or founders, right? Yeah. And to share the nuance and documenting, like getting ready to launch at Whole Foods. That's major. And I feel like more times than not, people want to root for you. People want to be part of the journey. One of my biggest projects to date was opening up a restaurant, and I documented the building of that restaurant for years, because we did monthly activations, we did monthly community events, we got the food in people's hands, and people felt like they were genuinely building this restaurant with us, because they were. And so that momentum really carried the brand for years. And so I could also speak to the fact that when you bring people in behind the scenes, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that genuine connection, again, I think speaks volumes. That layered on with really great retail partners, great press hits, amazing quality products, like all those things together is what makes a brand really cut through the noise today and also for years ahead. So I love, my inner brand strategist is really nerding out with both of you. So thank you.
Those are all the good intentions.
Yes.
There are days that you really, we produce, right? We manufacture pizza in New York City, which is pretty much unheard of. A lot of companies would start and then really look for the co-packing option. And so you can concentrate more on sales and marketing, but it was really critical for us to keep the product in-house, because we were very proud of the quality, and there are a lot of risks. Not that is not an option or a great way, really depending on your business strategy. But you're busy doing a million things, and it's almost like you have two kind of businesses, right? One is, again, marketing, really propelling the product on many levels. And the other one is check the production, deal with all the logistics, the complications, which are many in daily. We had, example, like the oven going out a few days ago, and it's an emergency. It's a big thing that happens. So maybe that day you're less likely to post or maybe you do post,
I think that ties back to the imperfection. And something that we were a part of Whole Foods Market's LEAP program. So they do yearly accelerator program for local and emerging brands. They select one brand from every region of the United States, and we were the Northeast region brand. So that was really amazing. And one of so many takeaways, it's an amazing program. One of the biggest comforts of the program is that founders shared, it's like 2 pallets of our product fell off a truck today, like, so and you're like, yes, post that, because that's what I don't think is out there enough, is that it's hard. Like raising capital is so hard, production is so hard, marketing is so hard. And I think there's a lot of thinking that, oh, it's perfect, it's rosy. Instagram and social, they're highlight reels for the most part. I would love to see more brands, including ours, just get a bit more real and be like, well, this happened today, and here's how we kind of dealt with it. And I think that could just be a really good, perspective.
I think that also leads into the advice you would give an emerging founder who's in the early stages and is looking at both of you being like, damn, they are goals. This is where I want to be. Martina, would you kick it off of any last bit of advice you would give to an emerging founder?
Yes, it's one of my favorite parts because I felt everything on my skin. I've been in the food business for many, many years. And every business that you start is different time, it's different moments in history, different dynamics. I would say that in the last 2.5 years, and I would say Bianca would agree, it was being in a intense crash course of every aspect of the business. So the learning part, you need to enjoy. There's need to be a part of you that it's for all the challenges that you meet every day, you need to keep up the spirit and say, I can get better at this. I can learn things that I've never heard before. You're dealing with distribution, you're dealing with buyers, you're dealing with financial aspects. So many, I would love to share a lot of my personal experience and advice, but on my end, and then Bianca will go on, I would say first, financial literate kind of preparation, because
know
it
your
comes down
finances.
to really look at, keep the enthusiasm going, because there's always, especially at the beginning, for one bad news, there's always a great news because you are ground zero. So work hard, keep the passion, become the expert. Become the expert. And then you can go back to the buyers, to your customers, and just really help them understand and translate the product for you. You need to know how it's made. You need to go really granular with the details of the character of your product. And that cannot be stressed enough. You really gain a lot of power and negotiating in a broad terms. If you are the owner of the product, the information, the technique, everything that it's around it, the narrative. So that it's one thing. Network away. Don't be shy. Like reach out. I always think, like if you get a no, or no, someone would not answer to you, it's their problem, it's not yours. And we found amazing support with much bigger founder that, at later stages than we are. And I would conclude for now with don't look too much at what you perceive another brand is doing. As they're so successful, they're everywhere. They're in every cool giveaway, cool partnership that you can imagine. You can grow really slowly or not, but organically. And you never really know what's going on. What might look good might be a nightmare on the supply chain, might be really a company struggling with, cash flow, or even just like team and everything else. So unfortunately, we're also hyper solicited in terms of, we're always on media, we see, and we found ourselves sometimes catching ourselves saying, what are they doing that, we cannot do, or move that away. Just obviously study your market, don't study other people's market.
Yeah.
I'm going to play this back to myself. So thank you for that. That was a good reminder.
And I say this too, because we'll say, oh, look, they did this, and why aren't we doing that? And I put my PR hat on and I say, good things take time. And if we reached all our goals in year 2, then what goals would we have? So I think it's, it's great to think that way and think aspirationally too. And to add to some of the advice, and we touched on this earlier, focus early and often on who your customer is. If you're in big retailers, do the demos, just figure out, have those conversations, because it'll lead to much more efficient decision making when it comes to your branding, maybe a redesign, packaging, what they want, what they're looking for, social, it really informs, how you're communicating outward and externally. And it all comes down to the customer, because if your customers are grand millennials, who equally want something super easy and convenient, but we care about the environment and we want to make purchasing decisions that support a better, healthier food system. That's one part. And then you have maybe your parents who are also of that, but they're actually looking for La Rossi because they know that we have no preservatives, we are organic ingredients, and that we care about what we're putting into our bodies. And so they like it for their kids. It's an easy meal they don't have to worry about. So, I mean, that's an example too. And where the last thing I would say, which jumps off of what my mom said, yes, be the expert on your COGS, your cost of goods, your, what it costs you to make your product. Need to be an expert in that, but don't be afraid of your weaknesses. Like if you have blind spots and you can afford to grow your team and hire for those blind spots, I think that's the best thing you can do. I say this with my business at Palm all the time. I have an incredible employee who knows TikTok backwards and forwards. She's 24. I'm not so literate at TikTok, but I know that about myself. And so I have, amazing help to kind of drive that and support it. And I think that, especially as companies grow, it's important to surround yourself with people who believe in your mission, but maybe have, strong suits that complement yours.
Really great points, because often I think, especially as women founders, we tend to feel like we need to do everything under the sun by ourselves. And if we don't, that means that we're not good as a founder or CEO, whatever our title is. So I really love that you're emphasizing that point of finding people either as a teammate or a partner, or even maybe as a consultant, some other aspects of the business to really help shape out the things that you don't know, and be curious and ask questions, because that's really how you also stay curious and learn and grow to become that expert. Because you're probably not going to be the expert day one, but that's a really great way of staying on track and staying focused, is having that curiosity to keep going. So I love that advice. Last question, which I think is the most important, is where can we shop your pizza? Where can we get this amazing pizza?
So you can get La Rossi online. We now ship to most Northeast states. So if you're not in the New York area, we do delivery and shipping in the New York area, and then Northeast states. We are on the Feed app, which you can get it all over the West Coast through the Feed app. We're in a lot of great kind of, I would say local, even farm stores, general stores. We are in some larger retailers. We're in the Wegmans in Brooklyn. So for anyone in Brooklyn, we're also, in some kind of like great smaller stores like Big Night in the West Village. They have an amazing freezer, and Poppy's in Brooklyn just opened a new location too. And yeah, like we mentioned, we're in conversations with some really big retailers coming up, and including Whole Foods for August 2024. So
amazing.
Adding that we're also available through online grocery delivery companies that are kind of value aligned. So one of them is Farm to People, has been partnered day one. And we have really been growing together in an amazing way. They're wonderful people to work with. There's a lot of the same conversation going on about, what does a product really represent? How can we change the food system little step at a time? And that was a wonderful partnership we had.
I love it. Well, thank you both so much. You both bring such incredible insights and value, and just great conversation. So thank you so much, both of you, for coming on my podcast today.
Thank you, Kelly. That was like one of the highlights of the day. We're going back in
Good.
Of the week.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
And
Kelly. Thank
of
you.
course. And thank you everyone for listening. And I'll see you on the next episode.